Greetings, all you education volunteers out there. This is Matthew with Matthew's Botanical Garden, coming to you with another episode. In this week's episode, I'm going to highlight two plants that I have a love-hate relationship with. The idea to highlight these two particular plants came while I was talking with a couple friends who were just admiring some of the photos I was taking and posting on different social medias about the flowers that I have in bloom at the garden, or at my garden, and kind of what's upcoming based off of the bloom schedule. So that got me to thinking. I was like, yeah, it kind of does look nice, but there were a lot of mistakes that I made along the way. And the biggest mistake is what I want to talk to you all about today. And it's not a mistake. Mistake's the wrong word. One of the things that maybe if I could do it over again, I would have been a little more conservative in how many of these two particular plants I placed. So before I tell you about the two plants, give you a little backstory. I don't know if you could tell what I'm sitting on. I'm sitting on a bunch of rocks. So this is a creek that I made. I'll kind of go through the how I made this creek in maybe next week's episode or 2 weeks episode from now if we're still doing these. But when we moved into this house years ago, where I'm sitting now, it was almost like a little ravine or like a little ditch that would collect water whenever it would rain. So we're kind of sitting on a slope here, and the topography of this neighborhood, we're kind of at the downward-ish slope of the hill. So there's a hill above us here. So whenever a heavy rain comes, all of that water collects, starts running down, and it was coming through this ravine down into to the sewer. A little ways down. So when we moved in, it was very hard to mow the grass around that. So I figured I was just going to turn that into like a little native wildlife area. And so I put river oats, which you see in front of me, and right underneath me here. And you can't see, I don't think you can see it on how I had the video positioned, but just behind me is indigo bush. I put those two plants down in that creek the very first year for two reasons. One, indigo bush, it's notorious for growing alongside riverbanks, and it will help stabilize erosion, i.e. this little ravine that I had. Whenever it rained, water would flow by. Water is an incredibly powerful source that does not get the appreciation that it deserves for its power, and slowly that ravine was getting larger and larger. So indigo bush, put that down in there, hoping that that would help cut back on some of the erosion that was occurring. The second one that I planted in the middle of the ravine, because I thought it would be kind of cool, is river oats. And that first year, they did their thing. They kind of got established. Well, the next year, that second year of living in this house, I got the great idea of making this creek that I alluded to earlier. And with this creek, I kind of was trying to mimic it off of like an Ozark stream, like an Ozark creek, what would naturally be occurring. So it's only wet during a rain. It really doesn't hold any water. But during a rainstorm, it's really cool because you can see all the water flowing. Hopefully in the next week or so it rains, I'll get a video of that for you all. But in doing so, I had already had the river oats established and the indigo bush established. So I wanted to build my creek around those since I had a year head start on those plants that they're already doing their thing. So I built the creek around that. After I built that creek, I figured I should landscape either side of the creek. Again, I'll show you that in a future episode. So I put some mulch down, put a little bit of topsoil down, did that, and got some plants started from seed over there. Third year, thinking everything was great, loving how everything turned out. Well, slowly, I started to see river oats creeping into the more formalized garden that I have. Same with the indigo bush. So that first year, I was just plucking maybe every other day, just plucking seedlings of river oats and indigo bush all throughout the summer, just to try to get the more formalized plants that I wanted started, and so they wouldn't get choked out by those two things. Well, fast forward to this year, a couple years later, and I still have river oats everywhere. I still have indigo bush seedlings everywhere. So I kind of had this internal struggle with myself. So in the spring, I'm cursing myself, like it is now. I'm cursing myself, like, Matthew, A, why did you ever put river oats in here? You know better. You knew that they were going to do this. And B, why don't I just cut everything out? So then I get really motivated to do that. Then I start thinking back to some of the pictures that I took in the fall, and I start thinking back to fall, thinking towards fall for my sanity, I guess. Uh, Side note, I'm not a big summer fan, so I don't like the heat. So as I was thinking about the fall, I'm like, well, but man, that river oats, that looks so awesome. When in the fall and winter, when the winds are blowing, it's just a nice yellow, brownish hue, and it's just blowing in the wind with those seed heads. Love it. Absolutely love it. So there's a love-hate relationship. It's getting to where I don't want it to be, but in the fall I do love it. So I think I'll probably just keep weeding them out day by day by day, and hoping that other very aggressive plants like Lanceleaf Coreopsis and Black-eyed Susans that I have in here will do their thing and try to outcompete with the river oats. The indigo bush, that's a little bit of a different story. How I had built the creek, I had the creek going, snake around this little canopy of indigo bush that I created. And to be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for my daughter and her absolute love of getting in the creek and like looking up and playing with all the indigo bush branches, actually like hides in the creek, they wouldn't be here anymore. But again, they are doing what they're supposed to do. Their roots, like as I plant new plants in the landscape formalized garden, the roots are going crazy. So they are stabilizing some of the soil that I have here. And they do what they do. Like if you read, I should have read up more about it, but if you read any reputable online plant database like Ladybird Johnson, Wildflower Nursery, Ladybird Johnson, their website's phenomenal. Wildflower Nursery, they could tell you the same thing. The Gardens website, they would tell you the same thing, that indigo bush forms thickets alongside the riverbanks that they are on. So I am seeing this occur. I am seeing a thicket form where I don't want it to form. So anyway, that's that. Like I said, I like to highlight that because I don't want to paint the picture that everything is perfect here, and everything's all fun and dandy and I'm just going around just reaping the fruits of my labor. It's still an ongoing process. It's still a learning process. I'm still learning things that do not want to grow here. I'm still learning things that do want to grow here and do very well, like the river oat and the indigo bush. I'm learning that I cannot force a particular plant to grow where it doesn't want to grow. For about 5 years now, I have kept putting purple prairie clover right over here, wanting it to take off and do its thing. I maybe have 3 or 4 coming up now, which again, I'll show you later. But I keep doing it every year, adding it. And each spring, each summer, I'm kind of disappointed that nothing comes up. So again, it's a learning process. I'm still learning. The takeaway here is when you put a plant, and especially native plants, when you plant it in a particular spot, it's going to look good there. I would assume you're putting it there because you want it to look good, or it's going to serve a function. It's going to be good there, but it's going to do what it wants to do. It's going to seed out. It wants to produce new offspring. So kind of think forward 3, 4, 5 years ahead, and maybe think through some of the pitfalls of what could occur. Again, something I did not do. I am all about that instant gratification. I just want to see something immediate. So as I was redoing everything, as the river oats were coming up, I was like, okay, so it's some green stuff, it's doing its thing, that's cool. You really need to have that short-term vision and couple that with that long-term vision to make sure that everything matches up. So what I'm going to do now is I will show you some of the thickets that are forming from these indigo bush seeds and show you how the river oats is spreading. I don't want to say out of control, but it's doing its thing and it's very, very happy. So I'm going to get up, grab you, we'll go for a little virtual walk, highlighting some of those seeds that I'm talking about and seedlings, and then yeah, so we'll keep doing our thing. So all right, hope everybody's staying safe. Social distancing seems to be working, so keep that up. If you're going to go outside and enjoy the gorgeous weather, again, just make sure you keep up that social distancing so that downward trajectory can continue and we could all get back to normal, whatever that's going to be, as soon as possible. All right, give me a second, I'll grab you and we'll go for a walk. All right, so we're here in what I like to call the Bermuda Triangle, because anything that I put here quickly gets overrun with all of these seedlings of river oats and indigo bush. And so I'm coming inside this bed more than I should be, stepping in there, weeding out these, so it's having a really hard time having anything else grow here. So again, this little Bermuda Triangle, I call it that because I have 3 indigo bush kind of set up like a triangle on the outside of the creek, and then on the inside of the creek here I have 2 little stands of river oats that I planted. So if I'm gonna come pan in here just to quickly show you, sorry if I bounce around, I'm gonna go as slow as I can so you don't get any motion sickness on me. But here, again, this is end of April, and river oats is very, very happy. So I'm gonna come in here eventually and start plucking all of these little seedlings out. So as we keep going up, now we're starting to get into where the thicket of indigo bush is at. Again, if I'm not on top of things, this is quickly just going to become a big giant mess that each winter I'll have to come in here and just hack down shrubbery trees. So again, think about this as you are mapping out your plans, and just remember that the plants are going to do what they want to do. They want to spread. Their seeds are going to go where they naturally would want to go, and you could quickly become inundated with little friends that you don't want where they ended up at.